The air was heavy with dust, sweat, and tension. All around the camp, aliens laughed and cheered, forming a wide circle under the burning twin suns. In the center of it all stood a human, tall, strong, but silent. His name was David, a soldier. A survivor. He had just returned from a deadly mission for the alien overlords. He was the only one who came back alive, and now they offered him a reward. 2 alien women were dragged forward in chains, their feet scraped against the rocky ground. Both had bruises, dirt, and fear in their eyes. One was slim, small, and fragile. Her skin was pale blue, and her head stayed down, eyes avoiding everything. Her name was Arya, but no one cared to ask. She was quiet like a ghost. The other was taller, strong-looking, with wild red eyes and sharp teeth. She growled at the guards and tried to bite one. Her name was Jera, dangerous, untamed, and feared. The alien commander stepped forward, smiling with sharp teeth. "You did well, human," he said. "Now choose. One of them is your prize. The other will be disposed of." David looked at the women. He saw the chains, the bruises, the hopelessness. The crowd began to chant, "Choose, choose, choose." Jera spat at the ground. "Pick her," she hissed. "At least she won't kill you in your sleep." Arya shivered, glancing up for a second before looking away again. David stepped forward. He didn't smile. He didn't laugh. The commander chuckled. "This is how we do things on our world. Strong take what they want. You earned this. Don't think too hard. Just pick one. You can do anything you want with her." The alien guards laughed. The women flinched. David looked at Arya, then at Jera. Their eyes didn't match their bodies. Arya looked soft but had strength in her silence. Jera looked like a beast, but her anger was born of pain. He took a breath. Then he said, clearly and firmly, "I choose both." Silence. Then loud mocking laughter filled the air. The commander's grin faded. "You joke, human?" he said, stepping closer. "No," David replied. "I'll take both." The commander's face twisted. "That is not allowed. One reward, not 2. David didn't move. "Then take them both back. I don't want one if it means leaving the other to die." Whispers spread through the alien soldiers. "He refuses the reward. Is he mad? No one says no." But the commander raised a hand to silence them. He stared at David. "You would reject both." "Unless you take both?" he asked, voice low. David nodded. "Yes." The commander laughed again, louder than before. "Fine, take them both. Let's see how long you last. One will cry all night. The other will try to eat you." He turned to the crowd. "Let's give our brave human the gift he desires." The chains were unlocked. Arya fell to her knees, weak. Jera growled and stepped away from David, eyes full of suspicion. David didn't touch them. He took off his coat and gave it to Arya. She looked at it like it was made of gold. "I don't understand," Jera said. "Why, both?" David looked at her calmly. "Because no one else would." The alien soldiers didn't care. They were already bored, walking away, laughing. About how long before the women betrayed the human? David led them away from the camp, slowly. He didn't rush them. Arya held his coat close to her chest. Jera walked with fists clenched. When they were far enough, David stopped. "There's a small shelter nearby. Safe place. I'll take you there," he said. Arya finally spoke. Her voice was small and soft. "Why are you helping us?" David answered, "Because you didn't deserve what they did to you." Jera snorted. "You think kindness will save you?" "No," David said. "But maybe it can save you." Jera didn't respond. The 3 of them disappeared into the wild, leaving behind the alien camp and its cruel laughter. But none of them knew. That night, one of the girls would try to escape, and David would wake up to danger. The door slammed shut behind them. Inside the small metal shelter, dim lights flickered. cold walls, a cracked floor. But it was safe at least for now. David turned around to see the two alien women standing apart like enemies. Jera leaned against the far wall, arms crossed, eyes sharp. Arya sat quietly on the floor, wrapped in the coat he gave her, like she wanted to disappear. No one spoke. Outside, the wind howled across the alien wasteland. Inside, the silence was louder. David began unpacking the emergency kit. There's food and water. It's not much, but it's better than nothing. Still, no answer. Then Jera growled. Why did you really take us? What's your plan? David didn't look at her. There is no plan. I just didn't want to leave either of you behind. That's a weak answer, she spat. David finally looked up. Maybe, but it's the truth. Arya peeked at him. Her lips moved like she wanted to speak, but no words came. Jera walked slowly toward David. Her movements were silent, like a hunter. You think kindness makes you strong? It makes you stupid. I've been called worse, David replied calmly. Jera stopped just a few feet away. I've broken men stronger than you. What makes you think I won't break you too? David didn't flinch. Then break me, but I won't hurt you. Jera stared at him, confused, angry. But something else flickered in her eyes. Something she didn't understand. She turned and stormed to the other side of the shelter. Later that night, David tried to sleep on the cold floor. Arya curled up quietly under a thermal blanket near the heater. Jera remained sitting upright, watching both of them like a wild animal in a cage. Time passed. The shelter was quiet. Too quiet. Suddenly a sound. Metal shifted. A soft click. David's eyes snapped open. Jera was standing near the door. She had something in her hand, a broken tool, sharpened like a knife. She was trying to open the exit. Quietly. David stood up slowly, careful not to startle her. Going somewhere? He asked. Zhira froze. I won't stop you, he said. But if you leave now, the storm will kill you. She turned to him, her voice low and trembling. Why aren't you stopping me? Because I don't believe in chains, David said. Not real ones, and not invisible ones. Jera stared at him. Her hand trembled. Everyone keeps me chained. Even when I escape, I'm still trapped. Inside, her voice cracked. She dropped the makeshift blade. I don't know how to live without fighting, she whispered. David walked closer and gently picked up the broken tool. Then don't fight, he said softly. Just rest. No one will hurt you here. Jera looked at him like he was speaking another language. Then, slowly she backed away from the door and sat down again. Arya, who had been pretending to sleep, opened her eyes. She had seen everything. And for the first time, she looked at Jera not with fear, but with understanding. David sat between them. Tomorrow, he said, we'll find a better place. This shelter won't last long. Jera smirked. You think we're just going to follow you like lost pets? David looked at her. No, I think you'll follow because you're tired of running. Jera didn't answer. But she didn't argue either. The storm outside screamed louder, like a monster howling in the night. But inside, something else had begun to stir trust. Just a small spark, but it was there, and no one saw it yet. But this broken group of three was slowly becoming something stronger than chains or fear, but far away. Alien scouts had seen them leave the camp, and now they were tracking them. Morning came slowly on the alien world. The twin suns rose, but the sky stayed gray. Dust floated like ash in the air. Inside the old shelter, David opened his eyes to a strange quiet. Arya was still curled near the heater, sleeping peacefully, but Jera was sitting right beside him, too close. David blinked, surprised. Zhira didn't move. She stared at him. Why didn't you hit me? She asked softly. David sat up slowly. What? Last night, she said. I tried to run. I held a weapon. You should have hit me, or locked me up. like the others always did. Her voice wasn't angry. It was confused, like a child asking why fire didn't burn. David rubbed his face and said, "I don't hurt people just because they're scared." Jera looked down at her hands. "But I attacked you." "You didn't attack me," he replied. "You were trying to escape." She looked at him again. "And if I had stabbed you?" David gave a tired smile. "Then I'd be a dead fool. But I still wouldn't have hit you." Jera stood and walked to the wall, silent for a moment. Then she turned back. "You're the first male, human or alien, who didn't treat me like property." David looked at her seriously. "Because you're not property, you're a person." Jera scoffed, but there was a tiny tremble in her breath. "I don't know how to be a person anymore." Just then, Arya stirred awake. She stretched gently and opened her eyes. Her soft voice filled the room. "You don't have to know, Arya," said to Jera. "You just have to try." Jera turned sharply. "You think I'm like you? Sweet, quiet, gentle." "No," Arya said. "You're stronger. That's why they feared you." Jera's eyes widened. For a second, her anger faded. Then she turned away again. David stood and checked his gear. "We can't stay here. The roof won't last another storm." He opened the metal door. A cold breeze hit their faces. The desert was wide and empty, but far off. Something moved. David narrowed his eyes. "We're being followed," he said. Jera stepped beside him, staring into the distance. "Scouts." "How many?" David asked. "Too many," she replied. David looked back at the girls. "We move." Now, they began walking, fast but careful. Arya held onto David's bag strap. Jera walked behind them, eyes watching every shadow. They crossed a dry riverbed and entered the rocky cliffs. There, they found an old cave entrance, half covered by sand. "We rest here for an hour," David said. "Then we keep moving." Inside the cave, Arya sat beside him while Jera stood guard near the entrance. Arya looked at David's hands, blistered, dirty, cut. She reached out with trembling fingers and held one of them gently. "You saved both of us," she said softly. "But who will save you?" David looked into her soft silver eyes and said, "I don't need saving, just company." A silence passed between them, full of quiet warmth. Then Jera's voice echoed from the entrance. "They're close. We have to go now." David grabbed his bag. Arya jumped to her feet. Jera's eyes met David's. "If they catch us, they'll take us back." "And you'll die." David pulled out a flare gun. "Then let's not get caught," Jera grinned. "You're starting to think like a fighter." David nodded. "No, I'm thinking like someone who has something worth protecting." For a second, Jera didn't speak. Then she said something strange. Something quiet. Something real. "I don't hate you anymore." They ran into the wild together. A human, two alien women. No chains, no masters. But behind them, the alien scouts followed. Faster now. And one of them had orders. "Bring the women back. Kill the human." Rain on a desert planet. It was rare. But now, thick drops fell from the red sky, washing dust from rock and skin alike. David, Arya, and Jera climbed into the mouth of a narrow canyon. They were wet, cold, and tired, but they kept moving. Behind them, the alien scouts were getting closer. Jera's sharp eyes scanned every ridge. "They're still on our trail, probably 2 hours behind." David nodded. "That gives us 1 hour to rest." They stopped under a curved rock wall that blocked most of the rain. It wasn't shelter, but it would do for now. Arya sat beside David, her eyes full of questions. Jera leaned against the wall, her arms crossed, silent as always. David pulled out a small heater unit and activated it. A soft, warm glow filled the space. "Why do you keep risking your life for us?" Arya asked, her voice soft but steady now. David looked at her, then at Jera. You were never slaves to me, he said. Not even for 1 second. Jera snorted. Is that supposed to mean something? David met her gaze. Yes, it means you don't owe me anything. You're free. You can leave whenever you want. Jera didn't reply at first. Her red eyes flicked to the rain, then to Arya. We won't survive out there alone, she finally said. You know that. You're wrong, David said. You'd both survive. You're stronger than you think. He leaned forward, his voice lower now. But I want you to stay, not because you have to, but because you want to. Arya blinked, surprised. No one had ever asked her what she wanted. Not in years. Maybe not ever. Jera turned away, hiding. Something in her expression. Was it fear, pain, or maybe hope? Suddenly a sound, a sharp whistle. Then silence. Jera's hand went to her knife instantly. Scout signal. David grabbed his gear. Time's up. Move. They ran again through rain, over rocks deeper into the canyons. And then they found an old outpost. Rusted walls. Broken antenna. Half buried in sand and vines. A forgotten place from a forgotten war. David kicked the broken door open. Inside, the three of them entered quickly. It was dark but dry. Dusty, but safer than the wild outside. Jera blocked the door with a heavy pipe. Arya collapsed into a corner, exhausted. David searched the back rooms. He found something rare: power cells still working. A backup generator hummed to life. Lights flickered on. The old base glowed dimly, like a ghost waking up after years of sleep. David returned with blankets and old food packs. He handed them to the girls. You didn't have to come with me, he said, sitting on the floor beside them. No, Arya whispered. That's why we did. Jera said nothing, but she didn't sit far. She leaned against the wall beside David. Her knife stayed in her lap, but her eyes were calmer now. Outside, thunder cracked. Inside, the storm felt distant. For the first time, it almost felt like a home. Arya looked at David and spoke quietly. Do you ever miss your people? David nodded. Every day. But they're gone. The ones I fought beside, the ones I cared about, lost to war. He looked at the girls. But I don't feel alone anymore. Jera's head tilted slightly. You really are strange, human. Maybe, David said with a small smile. Or maybe I'm just done with cruelty. Suddenly, a noise rang out, a distant metal clang from outside. All three froze. Jera stood immediately. They found us. David grabbed his weapon. Then we fight. Arya stood too, though her hands shook. Together? David nodded. Together. Jera grinned for the first time. Good. Let's show them what they gave away when they chained us. As boots crunched on the gravel outside, David looked at the two alien women beside him, once captives, now allies, and maybe something more. The outpost was too quiet. David stood by the window, his hand gripping the old alien blaster. His breath was calm, but his eyes were sharp. Jera crouched by the blocked entrance, a blade in one hand and a broken pipe in the other. She was ready. Arya stayed low behind the supply crates. She clutched a flashlight in one hand and a shock dart in the other. Her lips trembled, but she didn't run. Not anymore. Outside, something moved in the dark. David saw shadows first, then the lights cut out. Total blackness. Power's gone, David whispered. They're here. Suddenly crash, the back wall exploded open. Smoke filled the room. 3 armored alien scouts rushed in, guns raised. Take the girls, one shouted. Kill the human. Jera didn't wait. She leaped at the first scout, slashing with her blade. Sparks flew. Blood sprayed. The alien screamed and dropped. David fired his blaster at the second one, hitting him in the shoulder. The alien staggered, but kept coming. David didn't back down. He charged like a beast. He tackled the alien to the ground, punched his helmet off, and drove a metal rod straight into his throat. Arya screamed as the third alien lunged toward her, but she didn't freeze. She threw the shock dart perfect aim. The scout convulsed and collapsed. Jera was breathing hard. 3 down. No, David said, eyes still sharp. More are coming. Suddenly a loud knock from the roof, above us. Arya shouted. David grabbed her and rolled behind a crate, just as the ceiling burst open and a 4th alien dropped. Through firing blindly, Jera didn't run. She ran toward the danger. She jumped, slammed into the scout, and rode him to the ground. Her blade pierced his neck. David stood up, blood on his face. That's 4. Outside, they heard more boots. More growls. More orders. We can't hold them all off, Jera said. David turned to the back hall. Old tunnels. We escaped through there. He led the way, guiding Arya through the crumbling halls. Jera followed behind, covering them with stolen weapons. As they entered the tunnel, Arya looked back at the room that had almost become their home. Will we ever stop running? She asked. David didn't answer right away. Then he looked over his shoulder and said, We're not running anymore. We're surviving. There's a difference. Behind them, the outpost exploded. The scouts had blown it apart. Heat and shock waves pushed through the tunnels. They kept moving. Later they reached the edge of a canyon. Night was falling fast. David collapsed onto a rock. Blood dripped from his arm. His leg was burned. His hand shook. Arya rushed to his side. You're hurt. I live, he muttered. Ira knelt beside him. You fought like something wild. David looked at her, breathing hard. They were going to take you. Jera's voice dropped. You nearly died. I would have, he said, if it meant you were free. Silence. Jera stood, staring at the stars. I've never seen anyone fight for me. Not without expecting something. David didn't respond, but Arya did. She wiped the blood from his cheek. He didn't choose us to own us. He chose us to protect us. David gave a weak smile. And I'm not done yet. As the stars shined above them and the broken outpost burned behind them, something had changed. They were no longer a human and 2 chained women. They were a team. A family, a bond born in fire, but far in the dark sky. A ship hovered, and inside, someone very powerful had just ordered, Bring me the human, alive, and kill the girls if they resist. The canyon was silent. Too silent. Wind whispered through the jagged rocks, but the usual desert animals had vanished. Even the sky felt heavy, like it was holding its breath. In a narrow cave beneath the cliffs, a weak flame flickered. David lay on the ground, pale and shaking, his skin burned. Hot. His arm was wrapped in a torn shirt, soaked with blood. His lips were dry. He hadn't spoken in hours. Arya sat beside him, holding his head in her lap, her hand gently running through his hair. Jera stood at the entrance, her back to the cave, guarding them with her stolen rifle. Her ears twitched at every sound. He's getting worse, Arya whispered, her voice breaking. He won't survive without real help. Jera didn't turn around. We move at dawn. He can't move, Arya said. He can't even open his eyes now. Jera didn't answer. Arya leaned closer to David. Please, just wake up, say something, anything. But David didn't move. Arya's lips trembled. She bent down and whispered in his ear, You're not allowed to die. Not after saving us. Her tears fell onto his cheek. Jera finally turned. Her face was hard, but her voice was softer than usual. You care about him. Arya nodded slowly. He gave me freedom. But more than that, he gave me kindness. He looked at me like I was a person again. Jera walked in slowly, kneeling beside them. And you think I don't care? I didn't say that, Arya sighed, wiping her tears. Jera looked down at David. He made me feel like I wasn't just a monster, No one ever did that before. Not even my own kind. She clenched her jaw. If he dies, I'll burn every scout ship that comes near us. Arya took David's hand in hers. I'll stay with him. Even if he dies. Jera looked into Arya's eyes. You're brave, she said. No, Arya replied. I'm just tired of running. He made me believe there's something worth staying for. Outside, the stars began to fade. Morning was coming, but with it, danger. In the distance, a low rumble echoed through the canyon. A ship, bigger than the scouts. Heavily armed. Jera's eyes narrowed. They're sending a retrieval team. Arya stood quickly. We have to hide. Jera grabbed her shoulder. No, we don't hide this time. But David, Jera looked at the human. He wouldn't run. So neither will we. The two women worked together. Jera booby-trapped the cave entrance, while Arya carefully packed their supplies. She placed a soft kiss on David's forehead before standing up again. Then they waited. The ship landed not far from the cliff. Dust and noise filled the air. Metal doors hissed open. Alien soldiers marched out with electric spears and heavy armor. Find the human, their leader shouted. Bring him alive. Kill the women if they interfere. But they didn't expect what came next. Jera came out first, alone, standing tall, unchained, unafraid. You want him? She shouted. Come get him. The leader stepped forward. Where's the human? Arya's voice echoed from behind a boulder. Protected, just like he protected us. The aliens laughed. He's weak. He's nothing. Jera grinned. Funny, you're the ones who kept chaining him. Sounds like fear to me. The first soldier rushed forward, only to trip a wire. Boom! A flash trap blinded him. Jera moved like lightning. One punch, one throw. One soldier down. Arya appeared. Next, using a long stick to knock the second one off balance. She wasn't strong, but she was precise. The third one aimed his weapon, but a shot rang out. David was standing. Barely. He held a blaster with both hands, his arm shaking, but his aim was true. You're not taking them, he whispered. He fired again. The aliens began to retreat. Jera rushed to David's side as he collapsed again. You idiot, she said, but her voice cracked. You should have stayed down. David gave a weak smile. You would have fought without me. We did, Arya said, catching him from the other side. The aliens fled. Not ready for a fight they thought would be easy. Now, only the three remained, bloody, bruised, and breathless, but together. That night, Arya whispered to David as he lay between her and Jera, wrapped in a single blanket under the stars. We'll protect you now, just like you protected us. Three figures stood at the edge of the canyon, wind in their hair, starlight on their faces, and the wreckage of the enemy ship behind them. The final battle was over. The aliens had retreated. They wouldn't be coming back. David sat on a stone, a rough bandage on his shoulder, his shirt torn and face bruised. But he was alive. And beside him stood the two women no one else had ever believed in. Arya, the quiet, gentle soul who had once flinched at every sound. Jera, the fierce, wild warrior who once trusted no one. Now both of them stood with him by choice. Not chains. Arya knelt beside David, her silver eyes soft. You should be resting. I'll rest, David said with a small smile, when I'm sure you're both safe. Jera laughed softly and sat beside him. You're stubborn. I like that. He looked at them both, really looked. No chains, no collars, no fear, just firelight in their eyes and strength in their hearts. You know, David said, they gave me a choice. To take one of you. Jera raised an eyebrow. And you chose both. Arya smiled. But now, it's our turn. David blinked. Your turn? Jera leaned closer, her voice low but warm. To choose you. Arya placed her hand on his chest. We're not running anymore. We're staying, Jera said. With you. David felt his throat tighten. He had been a soldier, a fighter, a survivor. But in this moment, he felt something he hadn't in years. Home. The three built a small life from broken pieces. Together, they repaired the old outpost, planted seeds in the dusty soil, and made shelter from scrap. They laughed. They cooked. They healed. Arya sang softly as she worked, her voice like wind through crystal. Jera trained with David every morning, fierce but playful. She never held back, but she never aimed to hurt Dot and David. He smiled more, slept more, trusted more. One day, while sitting under the twin suns, he looked at them both. "I don't know what to call this," he said. "Freedom," Arya replied. "Family," Jera added. Dot and David nodded. "Then I'm exactly where I belong." No one else would have chosen Arya. No one else could handle Jera. But David saw their worth when no one else did. He didn't just choose them, he believed in them. And now, they had chosen him back, not as a reward, not as a master, not even as a savior, but as the one man who saw past the chains and gave them a future worth living.